The Sci-Horror Film Podcast. Hello and welcome to the Sci-Horror Film Podcast. I'm Andy Walker, and I'm here once again. And with me is again my son Scott. Hello, Scott.
Hello there. You're right.
No. I feel like I haven't done this for about 3 years at the moment. It's all gone blank. I've had my hair cut and I washed my head earlier and I can't do a thing with it. So this week, how are you anyway?
I'm all right. I wasn't expecting you to ask me a question. I tell my when we drink, I wasn't expecting it. Yeah, I was
Okay.
all right until I've just choked on my drink. But I'm all right. I pulled muscle in my chest, but that's my own doing because I decided to not ask for help.
There you go. Well, that will learn you.
Yeah.
So this week we have two shorts. No, we don't. Yes, we do.
Yes, we
No,
do.
we don't. No, we have 3 science fiction films.
Yeah, we still got 2 shorts and a feature.
I know they're 2 shorts and a long, but they're all 3 science fiction, is what I'm trying to say. And there's a good reason for that, which I will explain at the end. The first
A wise idea, just in case they get put out in the wrong order.
No. They're going to be put out in the right order. I've had a word with the staff. We've sacked whoever it was that put them out in the wrong order. We've got a new person in charge of the.
Got a new bloke in.
Yeah, somebody new in charge of the technical side of things.
Knows what they're doing.
Well, it's debatable, isn't it? I mean, have you seen that crew at the production company? I mean, come on. Not that I'm trying to put them down at all, because they do, after all, put all these things together for us.
They do indeed.
So, the first of these short films is a film called The Shepherd from 2021. Yes, it says One River Gerproda. It's a Russian film.
It's from Russian film.
No, it's a Russian film. I think.
Oh, I thought you said it's from Russian.
It's a comedy sci-fi. The director is Ilya Plyustinin.
Right.
Yeah. The cast is Pavel Pyatirov and Alex Toporov. There you go. And the synopsis for this film, it says, a typical office plankton, Leonid, living a boring life under a load of daily issues, is struggling to finish the annual report for his obnoxious boss, when he suddenly gets a chance of getting hold of mighty powers and show the world who the real boss in the town is, with a little help from unearthly invaders. So there you go. What do you think?
I actually thought this was quite funny. I know so many people that have been in an office environment like that have sat there, and I know for a fact that they would probably be exactly the same.
Yep.
I love it. I think it's hilarious.
I mean, it's not the first time I've seen the idea used. I mean, it was used in a small way, in a sort of throwaway way in the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and
Yeah,
it's also been used in a couple of TV adverts and a couple of other things as well. But I just think I've always loved that idea, that kind of twist on the alien invasion thing.
yeah.
Um, and it looks great. The effects are fantastic.
Mm.
I mean,
I was,
I was absolutely blown away by how good the effects were.
yeah, I was saying, it was one of the ones that it threw me a little bit because it was not something I was expecting from the beginning.
No,
It to be the sort of little twist or little twist that it had.
yeah,
It was sort of very well done, and the whole way through it, the camera angles as well that they use for like watching the CCTV camera and the sort of size different shots as well, I thought were very well done.
yeah, yeah. I mean, his acting was really good as well. I mean,
Yeah,
he's sort of like bored and sort of like don't want to do it, and then suddenly go, and then taking on that whole kind of like, well, I'll show you
yeah,
sort of thing. And it's another one of those ones that we said, although it is Russian, there's no dialogue.
no, and the fact that the text that comes up is in
Yeah,
English
I
as
mean,
well.
there's very little dialogue, and as you say,
Mm,
the text is all in English, so it kind of works as well. You
yeah,
can understand it, but it's just brilliantly done. I think it's as I say, the effects of the spaceship and you know crash when it crashes, and it's just brilliant. It's
mm,
just fantastic. And as you say, right up until the point where it crashes through the glass,
yeah.
I wasn't expecting it to be what it
No,
was.
to be honest, even what I liked about it as well was the twist. Well, not even a twist, but sort of you could see it coming, but it was still just sort of the way it was done, and
Yeah,
his acting afterwards, sort of trying to make up for it and make up for everything that he'd done, I thought was just amazing.
it was.
I love this film. It proper had me chuckling, and there's not many sci-fi films that do that for the good reason.
Yeah, no, I mean we've watched some short sci-fi films recently which haven't been that great, but I thought this was fantastic. It had everything going for it. As I say, the acting, the look, the effects, all brilliant, and the story it was great, and it was
Yeah,
funny. It was,
was. As I said, it's nice to watch a film where I'm genuinely laughing because it's funny and not just because of how rubbish it is.
yeah, yeah,
It had everything going for it. It was
and
just such a great thing.
it is such a simple, quick little idea, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know,
Just the thing is, that even that is the fact that like this is a 10 minute long or almost a 10 minute long film, and it seems to be so much that they put into it as well,
yeah,
but not without overloading it.
no, no,
It's so well done.
it was really, really well done. I really like that. Really good film. That is.
Mm.
Okay, on to our second one now. This is something a little bit more different, a little bit different. This is a film called Holy Moses. Now it's available on Dust on YouTube. It says 2022, but as we've said before, sometimes on Dust the films are actually older than the dates they go up on Dust, so
Yeah,
you can't really tell with that. Um, now it's a film by Ellie Powers, and there are a number of people in it. The full cast, we've got Philip Ettinger, Thomas Sadowski, Dan Bakadal, John Gowans, Thomas Sadowski, Ruby Wolf, Ino Badanjek, and where are we? I've lost a couple of people. Joanne Powers and Larissa Burrell. But the main star is, or the main person that they name in it is Amanda Seyfried, who was in the films In Time, Jennifer's Body, and Mean Girls. So it's got it's got quite a few people in it. Synopsis for this says, in 1963, the harshest winter of the 20th century rages against Northern Ireland. A pregnant nun at an asylum for fallen women has lost one of her cows. She follows it out into the elements just in time to witness it vanish into thin air. 25 years later, the cow reappears before a West Texas gas station attendant named Justice. Justice calls up the sheriff, and the sheriff calls up the doctor, and together the three men discover a strange mystery in the middle of an American nowhere. Now, yes, it's an odd and interesting story that I'm still not quite sure I understand.
I'm so glad you said that.
Um, Interesting story and idea. Obviously, lots of religious references and things, burning bushes and nuns and priests turning
The
up, things
priest
like
trying to
that.
cover it all up.
Yeah. That I liked about it is that there's an element of comedy in it as well, which works really well because it kind of counterpoints the weirdness.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
sort of like you got all this kind of weird stuff that you're thinking, what the hell? And then there's these bits of comedy that you kind of go, hang on, I'm still not sure whether it's supposed to be a comedy sci-fi
I
or just a sci-fi. I don't know what it is.
don't know.
Um,
It's such a weird layout of the way it's done as well.
I mean, the effects are good and the acting's good. And I wrote down here a good film, even if I still don't completely understand what was going on.
Yeah. I love it did make me question sort of, I don't know why. I don't know whether or not it's because of the day, when I watched this, I was in a very weird mood. What? I sat there after and I was like, and the first thing that went through my head wasn't like it does normally at all, question in the film. I sat there like, I wonder if there's any other miracles that the church has said are not for right people.
Yeah,
That was the first thing I went through. I sat there like, what if the church and people have gone, I see a miracle, and priests have turned up and gone, no, you didn't. It weren't for you, mate. It went for someone else.
yeah. Miracles like that are not for people like you.
Yeah, and I just sat there was like, I said, that's the best. I sat there afterwards and like, I wonder. And it's such a weird feeling to have that.
Yeah. It is strange. It's a very strange film, but I like it.
Yeah.
And I don't know why in particular,
Oh,
because
it's.
it doesn't make any sense.
I
I
think,
love
yeah, I think,
I love the bit where the sheriff calls the doctor and the doctor turns up and they're all standing there looking at the bush, looking at
yeah.
the burning bush, and they're just standing there looking at it. It's like, what's that?
What I loved is there's like the bit where before he phones, or before the doctor turns up, and he comes out, he goes, Sheriff, come and have a look at this. And the sheriff's like, why? why? And he's like, you've got to come and have a look. And I just sat there, I thought to myself afterwards, it's like, it's almost like that sort of typical police reaction for that area. Is obviously they all know each other, they all know. And he walked over to it and he's just like genuine, like, oh, okay. And then carries on a different conversation. I'm like, no, there's a burning bush. Please, someone say something about it. And it
Yeah.
never. It's just like,
Well,
I,
what do you say though? You kind of go, right, okay.
what, what I love is it's the fact that the sheriff and the doctor both genuinely sort of try and make sense of it by going, oh yeah, that's just normal.
Yeah,
It's normal, like yeah, and then they also they go, and it's not burning. It's not actually like stopping. It's just it's
yeah,
fighting. The doctor's just like, yeah, well, that stuff like that happens. It's just like, no.
yeah. No, it's yeah, it is a very strange film, but I love it. I think
Yeah,
it's great. It's
it's,
uh,
I think it's very well done, and that I've got to admit, the location filming was
yeah,
amazing as well. I think it
yeah,
helped
yeah.
a lot with it.
And then, I mean, the bit at the beginning, the kind was really quite deep and really sort of like
Yeah,
I was getting drawn into that, and then all of a sudden, the cow disappears, and you kind of go, and then you zap to the sort of like Texas, you kind of go, what?
yeah. Oh, that's the bit that
It's
sort of
getting
threw me with
weird.
this. The fella we sat there and it said, like you said at the beginning, it draws you in. And you're like, sort of disappears. And the first thing that went through my head wasn't the whole like, or what happened for a start, but it sort of quick popped in my head of, oh, it's been abducted. You hear like aliens come along and take the cows and stuff like that. And I was like, I thought that's where it was going,
Yeah,
and then it sort of appears where it does, and I was like. I genuinely sat there and like Amy was sitting there watching me, watching me watch the film, which I thought was really creepy. But she was watching me and she looked at me. She went, "Are you okay?" And it's only afterwards. I went, "Why did you ask?" She went, "Because you looked like you had a stroke." I sat there and there was no reaction for about sort of 2 minutes, and I was just like genuinely just sort of that look on my face, and she's like, "Baby, you okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah." It's just
yeah.
because it threw me so much.
Yeah, no, I know. I know. It's really weird. It was really, really weird. But I love it. I think it's great. It's a great film to watch. Okay. So we have now got our feature film, which is a film from 1980, a science fiction film called Saturn 3. Now, IMDb has this down as being an action sci-fi horror. I'm not quite sure. Sci-fi, I would say. Action, maybe. Horror? Yeah, no. Now, it's a really weird film, this, in lots of ways. The director, one of the directors, is Stanley Donen. Now, he did lots and lots of films, loads of them, but most of them are well-known musicals.
Yeah.
The only other thing he did that were kind of he did Bedazzled in 1967, which is about a guy who sort of sells his soul to the devil. So I don't know. Then there's an uncredited director, John Barry, and it's his only director credit on the IMDb. But John Barry was the person who wrote the original story that this film was based on. John Barry has written he wrote a lot of other stuff, and he did a lot of stuff that was musical stuff, which was really odd. Like, not musicals, but the music.
Yeah.
He wrote a lot of music, which was very strange. And the screenplay was written by Martin Amis. Now, Martin Amis is a novelist. He's written loads of novels, and he's done nothing in the way of sci-fi or horror apart from this, which is really quite odd.
Yeah.
And then we got the cast. He got Farrah Fawcett. Now, Farrah Fawcett did some TV stuff that's kind of like our sort of stuff, like sci-fi horror sort of stuff like that. TV stuff in the 60s and 70s. And she had a bit part in Logan's Run in 1976.
Hmm.
Apart from that, she's done no other sci-fi or horror stuff at all. Then we've got Kirk Douglas. Kirk Douglas did some sci-fi sort of stuff in the 1990s on TV. He was in 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea in 1954, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde in 1973, The Fury in 1978, and The Final Countdown in 1980.
Mm.
But when you think of the amount of films that Kirk Douglas has been in, that's not many.
No.
Then we have Harvey Keitel. Harvey Keitel did TV stuff to do sci-fi horror and that sort of thing in the 60s, 80s, and 2010s. He was in Death Watch in 1980, Star Night 1985, Two Evil Eyes in 1990, From Dusk Till Dawn 1996, Presence of Mind 1999, Little Nicky 2000, Red Dragon 2002, and The Congress in 2013.
Hmm.
Again, he's not somebody that I would normally think of as being connected with sci-fi and horror.
No.
It's very strange. And then, although he's uncredited in the film, the other person is Ed Bishop. Now, Ed Bishop did shorts and TV stuff in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. He was uncredited, but he was in the film Gorgo in 1961. He was on The Mouse on the Moon in 1963, Battle Beneath the Earth in 1967, 2001 A Space Odyssey in 1968, Journey to the Far Side of the Sun 1969, Threads, although he was uncredited, in 1984, The Serpent of Death in 1989, and Funny Man in 1994. But he's probably best known to most people in the UK for being in the Jerry Anderson TV series UFO.
Yeah.
Which was kind of like, which they then had the spin-off from that, which was Space 1999. But yeah, that's kind of, it's just really weird that he's uncredited in this, but he was sort of quite a big name, really, at the time.
Yeah, compared to the other three, he's actually the one that when you say his name, you're more sort of drawn to sci-fi and
Yeah,
everything. But
weird. So anyway, the synopsis for this says, two lovers stationed at a remote base in the asteroid field of Saturn are intruded upon by a retentive technocrat from Earth and his charge, a malevolent 8-foot robot. So, do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first?
I'll let you go first.
Okay. Now, this is a 1980s sci-fi film that I actually can honestly say I'd never seen before. Heard about it a lot, but never actually bothered watching it, mainly because I'm not that kind of into 80s sci-fi stuff a lot of the time. I find a lot of them really quite dreadful.
Yeah.
And so I expected not to like it. But actually, I thought it was pretty good. It's got some naff bits, and some of the ideas and some of the things that happen in it, because it's so old, are a little bit kind of like wrong
Yeah.
now, maybe a little bit, but the ideas in it and the way that it's done are not bad.
No.
I mean, it obviously had a bit of money thrown at it, but some of the effects are actually a little bit shaky, which is a bit, they're a bit kind of,
Yeah.
I'm not sure about that. But the interesting thing for me about this is the fact that you look at it, right? Farrah Fawcett, big American TV actress. Kirk Douglas, big American film star. Harvey Keitel, American film star. Ed Bishop, although he worked in the UK, he was American, but it's a British film,
Yeah.
which is kind of weird.
Yeah. I've got to admit, I did a bit of research on this, and I thought to myself, typically the same thing. I went through the IMDb page and other bits, and I thought, this is going to be an American film, and then it came out saying, British film and all that, and I sat there like, what? Hang on, and I genuinely had to look about 3 different sites just to make sure,
Yeah,
because I
it's
thought,
kind
someone
of
put it in
strange.
wrong, but it's such a weird thing.
It is. It does. I mean, it rips off a lot of stuff from other films. Star Wars is the obvious one, but I mean, every film that came after Star Wars ripped off bits from Star Wars.
Yeah.
But it also rips from some bits from earlier sort of like British science fiction films as well as that.
Yeah.
But it kind of works, even though you can see bits that are connected to other films. It still kind of works.
Yeah.
I really quite liked it. It wasn't great, but it wasn't bad.
No, see, this is the thing. It's not the worst 80s film I've seen.
Yeah,
Definitely nowhere near the worst 80s film I've seen. But no, this is something like I said to you before. I weirdly have actually seen this film before. Um, one of my teachers at school had an obsession with watching 80s films, especially when he had students that were in for detention. So he used to put it on so he was for his entertainment and to torment the life out of all the other kids.
right.
Um, so I sat there on one of my detentions and watched this film, and yeah, I agree with you. There's a lot of stuff in it that nowadays I don't think is sort of stood the test of time with certain bits.
Yeah,
Um, but I agree with you with the some of the with some of the bits about it. Is the fact that it definitely looked like it had a budget thrown at it for certain bits, like
yeah,
the set design, and the sort of the the actual base looked amazing, and for the time as well, the actual shots in space I thought were very well done.
yeah. They were.
And like the design of the spacecraft and stuff like that. The robot I'd say was a bit of a weird looking one, and I know that's probably obviously the person inside it, and they didn't want to make it look like a person, but it it was still an okay film. It's not the
Yeah.
worst I've seen. It's nowhere near the best, but it's nowhere near
No,
like
no.
the worst 80s film I've seen.
No, I mean, the weirdest thing for me is the fact that Harvey Keitel looks like he's about 15.
Oh, it's the bit I sat there. It took me a while to sort of recognise him because he turned up and I sat there like, you just you. It was really weird because the face looked fine. Like obviously looked like him, but it looked like someone had superimposed his face onto someone else.
Yeah.
Just because I sat there like, that's not what you look like in any other thing I've seen you in.
the weird thing about it was the way he acted and the way the character was acting. I honestly thought he was a robot
Yeah, so did I.
because his reactions and the way he talked was just so robotic.
Yeah.
It wasn't.
No, what I love about that is the fact that you don't actually know sort of who he is or what he
Mm.
until they're at the base. Obviously, you see him beforehand, before obviously he leaves and goes to Saturn Free. But and I think that's very well done. Is the fact that like it's sort of that bit of suspense of like who this person is and everything like
Yeah,
that. Because obviously they're not meant to. It starts off. It's meant to be a different pilot that goes there,
yeah.
and it's sort of no one really knows him until he takes his helmet off. And I think that was very well done and done it a very good way of doing it.
Yeah. The other thing is, I mean, there are some of the scenes in it are quite, I suppose, a bit bloody in a few ways, but I'm not sure I'd class it as a horror, but it was definitely had a few bits that were kind of like, oh, that's a bit, you know,
Yeah.
bit close. But no, I really quite enjoyed watching it. It's not necessarily a film I would go out of my way to watch that often, but I enjoyed watching it.
Yeah, I'd definitely say that it's not a film that if I had a choice I'd go to and watch, but if it was on,
Yeah,
I wouldn't not watch it.
yeah. No, I think it's definitely. If you've never seen it, it's definitely worth a watch. Just for the experience of doing it, because it's an odd film, but it's a really well done film, and it's yeah,
Yeah, like I said, there's a bits of it that are not fully stood the test of time, I think, but it's not. I think to sort of justify it, it's not over the top with it. It's like it depends on how you feel about it. I think depends on if you're okay with it or not.
yeah.
But it's not like proper in your face. This is, and you're sitting there going, "This is wrong. This shouldn't be happening."
Well, I mean, to
It's
be honest, it was what got me was the fact it's one of the few 80s sci-fi films I've seen that doesn't seem to uh kind of like sell itself on the woman being naked or the woman being the kind of helpless.
no. To be honest, she was probably more of a sort of action sort of person than the blokes were. Um,
Yeah,
there's a few little bits of like nudity in it from her, but not a full on fronted stuff like we've seen before.
no,
It's very it's almost like a little bit of sort of a slip of the camera.
and what there was kind of in keeping with the story, because they're
Yeah,
supposed to be lovers, and they're supposed to be on a spaceship where normally, or on a space station where they're normally the only two people there,
yeah,
so they wouldn't necessarily worry about running around or walking around with nothing on.
yeah.
So I mean, that kind of worked, I think, and it wasn't done too much. It wasn't
No,
like the be all and end all of the film, which is what I quite liked about it. Um, and let's face it, I mean, if it's not as bad as Starship Invasions, which it definitely isn't. Um, mind you, I don't think anything could be, but then that's just me. Uh, so yes, no, I liked it. I did like this film, and it's as I say, it was a good film to watch, and
mm.
I was I was pleasantly surprised because, as I say, I expected not to like it.
Yeah. It's the same. I did the same thing sort of. It took me a while to remember that I seen the film, but I sat there and was like, 80s film. There's going to be a lot of stuff that I'm going to sort of cringe at, but
Yeah,
it wasn't. There wasn't. To be honest, there wasn't any really.
no,
And I was quite. So I agree with you. I was quite impressed with this film.
and there's a lot in it as well because I mean, I got to a point where I thought, well, it's got to be ending soon. Then I looked, it still had never nearly half an hour to go, and I thought, wow, it's been so much in it already.
Yeah, it they seem to pack a lot in not a lot of time, really.
Yeah, yeah. definitely. I'd say definitely worth a watch if you like a good bit of mainstream sci-fi nonsense. It's definitely worth a look. Okay, right. So there you go. 3 sci-fi films that we liked. It's a rarity lately.
It is
So yeah, we got The Shepherd from 2021. We've got Holy Moses from 2022, and Saturn 3 from 1980. So I'll post links up for them, as I always do. Next week, now, because Halloween falls on the Monday, and we normally put this out on a Thursday, I thought we would do 2 Halloween specials this year.
Yeah.
So we're going to have 2 weeks where we will have 2 short films and a feature film, all of which will have a connection to Halloween. Okay. Okay. And I will tell you now that the feature film for next week is Trick or Treat from 1986, which has a cameo in it from Ozzy Osbourne, and one of the other characters in it is played by Gene Simmons from Kiss. So there you go. And all the music in it is done by the band Fastway.
Yeah, that's one of the things I love about this film. It's got 2 big rock artists in it, and never once did they go, "Do you want to put a song in?"
Yeah. The whole film, everything, all the music in it is done by Fastway, which is a bit weird, but there you go. So there you go. That's what we'll be doing next week. Thank you very much, Scott, for joining me and being part of the gang.
I'm glad I could help do this, and
Part of
it's been an experience.
Well, it's been something.
It has been something. Yes.
It's been a podcast.
Well, I wouldn't go that far.
allegedly. Yes. So next week we will see you with some spooky stuff and things, and you can watch these films. See, next week we'll give you the 3 films, and you can go away and watch them on Halloween. And then the week after, we'll give you another 3 films, which you could go
have watched
whenever you want.
You could have watched on Halloween.
Could have watched on Halloween, or you can make a note of and watch next Halloween, or you could have 2 Halloween weekends in a row. God forbid. Right. Yes. Okay. So, thank you very much to anybody who has listened, watched, thought,
spoken about,
wondered why, or even breathed. And so in all of that, with all and if, we will be back again at some point, and then you might not be, but might are. If you will, then thank you much. If not, well, okay then. Bye.
Bye.
The Sci-Fi Film Podcast.